Okay, before we get started, I just want to show you what it looks like after the fact. This is future me. Not everybody's situation is going to be the same. Whether you have a doorbell, you don't have a doorbell at all, there's four things that stay the same. You need the ring, you need a wire, you need a transformer to convert your house voltage, 120 volts, down to 1624 volts. So it just reduces the voltage so it doesn't burn this thing up. And the other thing is you have to have a resistor. And I'll show you a picture of it now. And I'm also going to show you how to solder it, where to solder it. Just a couple things. You can see this, well, it's hard to see in the daytime. It is lit up right now. It's hard to see the lights, so this is what it, and I'm going to show you what it looks like at night. It's a little different. And also when I move, it should trigger the doorbell, and this kind of gives you an idea of what it looks like. I think that's it. So now let's go ahead and get started. In my case, we had a doorbell, but it was disconnected and there was no way to reconnect the wires because we had done some work in the wall. So I couldn't find them. So I just had to run a brand new wire. I also had to replace the transformer, the device that reduces the voltage from 120 volts coming in from the house to 24 volts. And then it was just a matter of putting in the resistor to keep the voltage right. But we're going to show you all the different scenarios that you might encounter so that you can have a doorbell that works all the time and you don't have to sit there and replace the battery and recharge it all the time. This was a glass panel, but I just ran a panel over it because it was a little dangerous. I mean, super easy for someone to break in. You know, they just come in and smash the side window and unlock the door. You know, the door handles on that side, reach in, unlock the door, and in they go. So, that being said, we will go ahead and get started. The other thing is, you know, and I apologize, I had made another video when I first set up the device, and there's a link down below to that video on just setting up the device before you install it. And it was titled "How to Install a Ring Video Doorbell Inline Installation," which I'm going to show you now. So this is part 2. But apparently some people got a little bit upset that it was titled that because it's more just unboxing and setup, which it is, but this was the whole purpose of the first video. And I've had it installed now for, about a year. And everything's working great, always works great. There is a subscription fee if you want to replay your videos. If you're not interested in that, you just want to look at your doorbell in real time, you can do that for free. But I believe the subscription is somewhere around $23 a year, so that you have recordings that you can go back to, and I'll show you what that looks like in just a second. Oh, you do get a you do get a little sticker that you can put on your door, protected by rain. Oh boy. Alright, if you have any questions, comments, feel free to leave them down in the comments below. I'll try to answer any questions you might have. I believe anybody can do this. Alright, best of luck. Check with you later. Okay, so in the manual it says camera field of view, you want to set it at 4 feet high. So we're just going to measure 4 feet and put a little mark there. It's a little hot out here today. Sorry about all the sweat. So 4 feet right here. Okay. So we want to mount it right about like that. But as you can see, we have this cutout here, and I know they make another model that's skinnier that may fit on this little flange here, but this is what we have, so this is what we're going to have to go with. So either I could put another block of wood back here to attach this to, or in our case, I think we're just going to get a piece of paneling and fill this in so it can mount flush to that like this, and probably use one of those kick out plates to put it out a little farther. Alright, so the last time you saw me, we were looking at the door and what we were going to do, how we're going to finish this out, because there's just this little lip, and I guess you could mount it to that, but trying to run this wire back there is almost impossible. And in our case, we had disconnected the original doorbell in the house, so there is no connection from the transformer to the doorbell, so I had to run a new wire from the transformer down here to where we're going to hook up the doorbell. So when I figured all this out and how this panel is going to go on here, it said, measured it so it was 4 feet, blocked it all out so that we have a place to attach this once the panel goes on. I know I didn't show much on this part on how we did this framing or whatever. It's just 1x2s on the inside. Figured out our height. We did go ahead and mount this plate, which, hang on, which this now just screws on here. Okay, so everything's in the right place. We also wanted it close to the door because we have this post right here which obstructs the field of view. We connected it, everything looks good. So now it's a matter of adding the resistor, getting the wire through the paneling. We also took I had done some work on the back door and had this extra paneling. So this panel is going to go up in here, and then we're just going to trim it out with some corner round and then mount our device right here. So let's go ahead and connect the resistor. Alright, so now we're going to install the resistor here in this line. This wire goes all the way back up into the attic, back down into where the furnace is, and goes to the transformer there for the doorbell. And I'll show that to you in a minute. But this really doesn't have any mounts. We have to solder it here and here on one of these wires. There's really nothing to hold it in place. So we're just going to use a zip tie and to hold it in place. Okay. It's got a little hole here too, so I can put a screw in there. That'll be handy. Just cut this off a little shorter. May need it. Who knows? All right. So for now, for soldering, I just kind of want it. I want it somewhere in here.
And now just go ahead and screw it in through the hole. Okay, now you just want to cut a section out of either the white wire or the red wire. It doesn't matter which wire you connect it to. Just cut a little piece out to take up the space for the resistor so the wire stays the same.
Alright, so when I first recorded this, I hit the record button when I wanted to hit pause, and pause when I wanted to hit record, so I missed this section. So I'm going to recreate it, show you how to solder the wires. So here's our wire. just like the original one. And I don't have the resistor, but we're just going to use these instead. It's very similar to the ends of the resistor. So the first thing you want to do is strip back some of the wire. A little more than that. Let's make this a little bit longer. And there's all different types of wire cutters you can use. And since we're going to be soldering, I should go ahead and turn this on. And this is a Weller WPS 18MP. I'll show it in the description below, so if you don't have one or you're interested, this one's worked great for me. I do a lot of stuff with drones and building drones and just stuff around the house. It works great. Anyways, so strip your wire. Okay. And then I just wrapped it around. But first, before I wrapped it on, if you have access to this or you get some, it's always a good idea to put a sleeve on it. So I use these for my drone stuff again, but just a little rubber piece, and don't forget to put that on the wire before you start soldering it, because when it's all done, we're going to come back and heat that up and shrink it up. So anyways, I just wrapped it around, and I know it's not exactly the same, but you'll get the idea. There's just a couple important things to know when you're soldering, is that you want to heat the metal up and not the solder to get a good weld or solder. So let's put this in here. I think you can see that. Here's our wire. We're pretending this is the end of the resistor. And this wire is pretty tough. Maybe I need a pair of pliers. Hang on. Okay, so let's go ahead and this may just be easier to do it like this. Just wrap it around. Okay. All right. So now it's attached pretty well, the wire, to this piece, which is our fake resistor. Okay. And then once the soldering iron's hot, you can tell it's hot from the reading. And I have this little cleaner here, just dab it in, clean the tip off, and then you want to heat up the metal. So just hold it from the underside or wherever, and then get it good and hot. So the metal, the heat from the metal is going to melt the solder, not the soldering iron melting. Maybe tin it just a little bit. And then, so see, I'm not touching it with the soldering iron. Okay. So that's a good solder. And then just do it with the other side. Do the same thing to the other side. And I know this isn't like the resistor, but then you just run this sleeve up so it's nice and snug, so there's no metal showing. And then just take a heat gun or a lighter, and this will shrink up. All right, so that's all there really is to the soldering. Okay, the only other thing that I wanted to mention was that I mounted mine close to the doorbell, but it probably would have been better to put it back by the transformer, which in the next section will show you how to install the transformer.
and it really doesn't matter if it's close to the doorbell or the transformer. Either way, it's going to work fine. It's just a matter of personal preference. Alright, so here you can see we've got the resistor soldered, and I chose to put it between the white wire. It doesn't matter, it can go on the white or the red, it doesn't make any difference. And you can see the little rubber sleeves that are going to get pushed up, and I'm fixing to use the heat gun to shrink them up. And here it is, all soldered up and heat shrinked.
Alright, so in the kit, it comes with these two little wire things that you can just hook right up to the Ring doorbell. I'm going to use those instead of splicing this wire and connecting it. It'll just be easier, and then just use these little caps to connect the wires, but I'll show you. So I'm just going to undo these a little bit. Okay. Goes that way. We want it coming down in our case because the wire is going to come down through here. So just slide that up in there. Tighten it down. Snug. Okay, loosen this. Up. Alright. Pull these little tabs off. Twist it up. And since I already have my soldering iron out, I'm going to go ahead and tin these. Won't hurt anything. So, let's start up the soldering iron. I just gotta wait for it to get warm. Wait for the green light. Alright, we got the green light. So, just take a little solder. Just lightly run it over. Same on this one. Okay. Looks good. Alright, so now we're going to go ahead and connect this. Okay. Alright, so when you're mounting this, you've got the 4 holes here. 1, 2, 3, 4. So you could just mount it how you wanted to, lining up your brackets so that it went into these 4 holes. But there's also this plate that you can mount first, plastic plate that's in the kit. And then these 4 holes line up into these 4 holes. And then you just use these little screws. So we're just going to feed these wires back here. And pull them out to the side here. Okay. And just put a couple screws on it just to hold it. It's actually easier to put these in first. Okay. Okay. We're just going to put a couple in because we're just going to test it before we put the before we cover this whole thing up, make sure everything's right. So there's 2 screws. Okay. And then the 2 wires. We ran off the back there. And then this is the wire coming from the house. So we're going to trim this up. I'm going to leave it a little long, just in case for some reason down the road we need a little extra wire. So I'm going to cut it here. And then trim these back. Not too much. I think that's enough. Maybe a little more. Okay. Alright. And with this, the cool thing is it doesn't really matter what wire goes where. So you just hook these up. And we're going to twist this on, so we want to twist it clockwise. Okay. Put one of these little caps on. Just make sure both wires are connected really good. Okay. Just give it a little twist. Try to keep the height the same. Get your little cap. Twist it on. Okay. You can give it a little tug. Alright, so that looks pretty good. So it is connected. The battery isn't in. I think I might want to add one more zip tie here, just so it can't. Well, it's not moving. I think we're just going to go with that. Alright, now we're going to go connect the wire on the other end that runs to the transformer, and I can show you that. Alright, so this is where the old resistor was hooked up, transformer. And that's it. And here's the new one. It's THY81G, and there's a link below in the product description below. It's what they recommended. So we're going to hook the transformer up now. We had the old transformer in here. I already took it out. Now here's the old doorbell wire that went to the old transformer, but we're not using that wire anymore. And here's the new one that's run from here up into the attic, drops down by the front door, and hooks up to the doorbell. So anyways, first thing you want to do is turn the power off. And I use this little device here to make sure I'm not going to get shocked. So just check the wires, double check the fuse box, everything's off. Alright, so we're good, we're not going to get shocked. And then we just have to hook this up. If you don't know where yours is, really not sure what you can do. But if you don't have one, you could tap into another electrical box that's close to the door, and all you would do is undo the red, black, and green wire, and then attach this to that, because it's not gonna. It only pulls like 16 volts. So it's really not going to add anything to the circuit. And then just add another junction box
and get one of these plates and then jump a wire from your electrical outlet to a new box. And then I'll show you how to hook it up. You know, assuming you didn't have this box, you could make a box next to an electrical box. So that's an alternative. All you need is another piece of wire, about, well, it depends how far away you put the junction box, but you know, just enough wire to run from wherever your electrical outlet is to the new box. And you'd have to mount a box and run a wire into the new box from the electrical outlet, and it shouldn't cause any problems. And then you just have to hook it up. So you need a box, a faceplate, and then you just take the new transformer and run the wires through the front, and then push it back and put the mounting screw back on. So just run all the wires through here. Because you want to do this before you hook up the wires, or you'll be in trouble. Okay. I'll just slide that down. I hope you can see it. I don't have much room in here, so it's a little tricky, and the light is horrible, but hopefully you can see it. And then this just screws on. Okay. Tighten it up. Get it good and snug. All right. So then this is just gonna, let's see, tighten that up. Probably should get a pair of pliers to tighten that, but it's really not going anywhere anyway, so I'm not that worried about it. All right. And then this is going to mount here, and then we're going to mount our doorbell wires to the transformer. All right, so now let's hook the wires up. And take your two white wires and twist them together.
Okay, it's easier if you get the two wires connected fairly well. So when you attach the third wire, it's easier to put the cap on. Okay, that transformer is really heavy. It's kind of hard to hold up, but do the best you can. Wrap the wire around and get your wire cap to cover it. There's also an easier way to do this, and I'll show you this, a listing of the product now, and you just clip each wire into the attachment, which makes this a whole lot easier than trying to twist these wires up and using old wire caps. There's a much better way to do this, so just thought I'd share that with you. Okay, just go ahead and do this with the white wire, the black wire, and the ground wire.
Good and tight. And just make sure they're all connected, and you don't want bare wire hanging out either. Alright. Alright, that's 2 for 3. Okay, last one. Okay. Alright, we got a good ground. Alright, they're all hooked up. Alright, just make sure Double check everything, make sure they're all good. All right. And then push all the wires back in the box. Easy peasy. All right. Okay.
Okay, and go ahead and get the first screw started. And then just go ahead and install the faceplate. Okay, now let's attach the wires that are coming from the doorbell.
So we're just gonna trim these wires. All right. And leave a little extra. Trim them back. I know the light's not real great in here, but it's the best I can do. A little more. Adjust this out a little bit. There we go. All right. Okay. And that's gonna twist clockwise. So we're gonna bend it this way, make a little loop. All right. Guess I should get my pliers. There we go. Okay. Loop that on. And tighten it up. Oops. Okay, that seems pretty good. Do the same with this one. Uh-oh, here comes the furnace. Okay. Loosen this up. And we'll staple this up in a little bit. Alright, so now all the wires are connected. So back out to the front. Okay, now that we have everything hooked up, we got the wire run to the transformer. We have the other end hooked up to this resistor and then to the ring. So let's go into the ring app and make sure that everything's connected right. So we open up the ring app. Front door battery is charging. Everything's good. Let's turn off motion alerts. Alright, so now we just need to, I'm going to take this back off and hook up and put the front panel on. Okay, just make sure it's centered right and that the trim's going to cover up these sides, since this board really wasn't wide enough, but we're going with it. Alright, I'm going to go in the back and cut this trim. And then I'll be right back.
Okay, so we got some of the trim back up, and there's this one piece where the screen door frame attaches to, and the part where the old doorbell was. and there's a hole there, so I'm just going to go ahead and replace that piece. So we're just going to go ahead and take the frame off and replace the one piece of wood, the piece of trim there, and cut a new one and put a new one up, and then I can finish nailing the rest of the trim. Alright, so just unscrew. It was just a bunch of screws that held the frame on, so I just got to take all the screws off and then get my handy little putty knife to loosen it up, and then a crowbar to finally get it all the way off. Alright, so you can see here, that's where the old wire was, and then it went sideways. So now I'm just going to cut this new piece to length and nail it up. Okay, just go ahead and line it up right. Start putting some nails in. Easy peasy. And then once that piece of trim's nailed up, then I went ahead and put the rest of the trim up. Alright, now we just have to put the screen door frame back on. Set it in the right place, marked it where the holes are, pre-drilled some small holes before I put some new screws in. And one other thing is, I probably should have painted this trim before I put it up, but I don't have the right paint right now, so I'm just going to go ahead and attach it. Okay, and now just make sure the door shuts right. Voila.
Alright, so now let's connect the device to the wires. And once again, one thing that makes this install a little easier than some is that it doesn't matter which way you put the wires on. You can put the red one here, you can put the red one over here, and vice versa. But anyways, let's go ahead and put them on. You want to loop it and have it looping the same direction as it's gonna tighten, so it stays tight. Anyway, so just tighten it down. Okay. Same with the other one. Tighten it down. Okay. And then we're just going to push these wires back in a little bit. Okay. Alright, so then I've already put on this mounting plate. So there's a screw here, screw hole here and here for the device. Here, and the same on the other side. Here, here, and it screws in there and there. So once you push it in, then you'll just put the 4 screws in. One here, and the same on the other side, over here, and over here. Alright. But since I've already taken this off, what I'm going to do is that when we had it flush like this, it gave us too much of a view of the roof. So I'm going to put another plate that comes with the kit that's going to tilt it forward a little bit. So let me just go get that, and we're going to hook it up that way this time. So it tilts the camera forward a little bit, so we'll get off the ceiling, which I can show you. As you can see in this shot right here, you can see the ceiling, and then I'm going to show you what it looks like afterwards.
Really not that much difference, not nearly as much as I thought it would be.
Alright, so I want this in the same place that it was in the first place. So I'm just going to hold it in the same place, and it's got 2 little slots. I'm just going to mark my pencil in the slot where the screw is going to go in. Okay, and in this top hole, it's going to go into the wood. So I'm just going to drill, since it has something to catch, the screw has something to catch on, I'm just going to drill a little pilot hole. And down here, this one, it's just that paneling in the back. So somewhere in the middle. Oh, no. There is more wood there. So I'm not going to have to use the sleeves for the screw. But they give you this bit so that if it was brick or mortar or whatever, you just drill it with this, which I said they give it to you, and then just use these, hang on, got a bag of screws and anchors, so you just use one of these anchors. First drill it with this that they give you, this bit. It's the right bit, so this will fit right in the hole, and then you'll push it in, and then it'll accept the screw. So, but we're not going to do it that way. All right, let's go ahead and take the old plate off. And you might want to put a mat down below, especially you're working outside. These screws are really small. I've dropped them a million times. It helps with it helps from them bouncing and dropping all over the place. So just a little mat to help you give yourself a better chance for not losing a screw. A little helpful tip there. All right, so let's put the other plate on. And since we want it to tilt forward, we want it angled forward. There's also a side plate that if you wanted to tilt it inward or outward, depending on where you're mounting it, there's another piece like this. Here, I'll show it to you. All right, and here's the other one. So you can see this way it would tilt the camera towards this direction, and if you did it this way, it would tilt it that way. But I don't really have a use for it, but I just wanted to show it to you so you know what your other options are. Okay, so just feed it through, and something like that. I don't know why the screw won't stay on the, this is magnetized, but it won't catch with the screw, so kind of have to feed it in there. See, there goes, dropped one. Caught on the mat. I'm going to go ahead and put it in first, screw in first. Hold it with my drill. Okay. All right. All right, when you're mounting the tilt plates on, you want to do it with this screw. Has a little washer on it. And this smaller one, this pointy, goes into these holes when you attach the device back up and you screw it in there. But that one's pointy because there's this little one which goes into this, into these tilt plates. These longer ones, because it doesn't show you in the directions. and I had to take it off and redo it. But anyways, so the longer ones are used to hold this plate on, and then the short stubby ones are if you use the flat plate that I had put on in the first place, and then these flat screws screw into here to hold the device. So that's the difference between the screws. So let's go ahead and put the right screw in. Excuse me. Okay, let's hook up the device again. Once again, doesn't matter which way. Let's pull some wire out so I don't have to fight it. Make it easy. Doesn't matter which way they go on. Which is the one nice thing about this. Let's make sure it gets a good connection and it's got a little loop to catch on like that. Okay, good and snug. Push the wires back in. Okay. Now get the right screw, the pointed one. Try to get it in the hole first because they'll just fall out. Even with magnetized tips, they don't work well. Let's get it started. Got the smaller one here. Okay. That's snug. Alright, just do that for all four. Okay, you just want them snug, not too tight. It'll just strip out the plastic. Okay. Put the battery back in. And let me just show you something real quick. Okay, before I started doing this, I took the battery out, but I went to my phone, went to my app, and put it on home mode, so it's not going to activate anything. And then once you get done, of course, just click the away button, and then when someone comes to the door, it's going to alert you that someone's at your front door. So anyways, it's home mode. It's not going to trigger it from motion detection or anything, so I just wanted to show you that before we continue. Alright, so put the battery back in and the cover. Okay. And then it's got the little security nut with the screwdriver for the bottom. And it's flashing right now because it's probably reconnecting to the Wi-Fi. And I think it's done. So it's connected. I didn't have to do anything. It just automatically reconnects. Okay, so now I'm back inside. And I'm not going out again, so just go to the Ring app and away. So there we go. Now it's armed, and when someone comes to the door, the camera will go on. And then if you're going in and out a lot,
just press home, and then it's not going to activate the camera. You can see it's showing up on both devices. But anyways, there you go.
Okay, and see, now you can see, again, this is at night, and the two little red lights, I've turned it back to away mode, so it sensed me, and the red lights come on, and now they're off because I just came out, but there it is. And then we'll move, and there's the lights. So when somebody comes up to your front door, those little lights are going to pop on, so they're going to know they're on camera even at night. Alright, pretty cool. They're actually this camera's having a hard time picking it up right, but they're just 4 little red lights. They're actually smaller than they look. There it goes off. Okay.